Imagine that your home was just hit by a storm and you're trying to figure out how do we get the insurance so we can start putting the pieces of our lives back together. Well, today I did an interview with a entrepreneur that started a business that is helping millions of homeowners get back on their feet after natural disasters. So stay tuned as we talk to this entrepreneur. Now, many of us have unfortunately lived through a situation where a natural disaster has hit our home, it's impacted our property, whether it's been like, let's say severe hailstorms where it has really damaged the vehicle of yours, or whether it's been a hurricane, or whether it's been a tornado, or even floods. When things like that happen unexpected, there's so many things that go through our mind. And the last thing we want to have to deal with is getting the runaround from an insurance company that is just stretching out the process, that's delaying it, that's not moving things forward. Well, there was an entrepreneur that I had the opportunity to meet and interview on the show, which I'm going to play that interview for you. But before I do, I definitely wanted to talk about just the impact that he's had for so many homeowners. I mean, this is something that unfortunately many of us have faced because of some unforeseen event. And when he recognized that, one of the things that he said is, how can I take what I know and how can I, step in to really help these homeowners who are just trying to pick up the pieces of their life and they're just trying to put things back together so they can get back to whatever this new normal is going to look like. So what he did is he took technology, his understanding of the insurance industry, and he started developing partnerships and has developed a very, very effective business that is doing great work. So stay tuned and check out today's interview.
Yeah, so WeatherCheck, you can think of us like the Carfax for severe weather.
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another great guest on. And one of the things that we have definitely enjoyed in 2020 through the 230 plus interviews that we filmed is being able to talk to entrepreneurs from different backgrounds. And so it's always great to talk to another entrepreneur that, it's figuring out something in the tech space with something solving a problem that we all probably face, but aren't really familiar with how it gets solved. So I definitely want to welcome Demetrius to the show. So welcome to the show.
Man, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before we jump into your business, I really want to talk about, what was your background and kind of how did you navigate your way into, starting this business?
Well, at the end of the day, my background was in finance. I started at a Fortune 500 bank, PNC Financial Services Group, right out of college, and was really planning to do the accounting CPA route. And that came from my first job in high school was working at a movie theater that in a small town in Western Kentucky that a CPA friend of his dad was CPA and owned the movie theater. And so I was like, wow, this guy can own a movie theater and be a CPA. I think that's probably what I ought to do. And so, and then had an early sort of fascination with John D. Rockefeller, who was also a bookkeeper, CPA, and of his time. And so, and went on to sort of build Standard Oil. And so, that was sort of, what kind of got me thinking about business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and business owners, with my grandfather inventing the horizontal drill for fracking. But it was really sort of this idea that, okay, wait, like if I understand the financials of an organization and how the money works, then I can somewhat make an inroads on what to do next. And frankly, what's interesting, even as I talk to you now, I have said in the past in other interviews, like, oh, I didn't really have an epiphany around technology until much later. But the reality was is that um, I actually joined PNC Financial Services because of one product. They had this product called Virtual Wallet, and it was the sort of first instance of a app, mobile banking, fully integrated, move your money around, this sort of thing. And it was super easy and slick. And I thought, man, this is really cool. They've got a good thing going here. And frankly, they didn't double down on it enough because it was really ahead of its time. Um, and that's the reason why I chose that job, not because I really love the banking industry. So fast forward a few years later, I leave PNC. I'm running I'm controller of a roofing company that's chasing hail and windstorms around the United States. We grow that business from 10 to $15 million a year, 4,000 projects around the country every year. And then I really decided, oh, okay, I can spin out. So I started my first construction company, then another after that, sold both of those. And then WeatherCheck sort of popped into my head as the sort of, hey, we've been on the built environment side for a real long time. Now let's sort of see if we can't take that knowledge and translate it into technological solutions to solve the problems within that space. And that's what we've been doing.
Okay, nice, nice. How was it switching from, like, say, going from the bank to, working in industries outside of banking? Was that a a big night and day move for you?
It was huge, but it was a breath of fresh air, right? Like, you know, um, banks are stodgy, even the most innovative ones. And it was just a huge, breath of fresh air to be able to go out every day, be dealing with roofing projects, as an example, in Independence, Missouri. That was the first city that I worked in. And to see, real customers who are you're really helping and try to get them to actually take an action. I mean, I think I've done that with checking accounts and stuff, but this was like more tactile. Like, hey, you got to convince them to make a really big purchase, like $10,000 or $15,000, and that was sort of gave me the chops, um, and really taught me the difference between soft sale, hard sales, technical selling, and so really I'm a technical salesperson. That's my method of selling, so I know a lot of information and can go really deep on the topic, and use that to sort of convert the client. And so um, that's it was
Okay,
great though. I don't regret it even a little bit.
gotcha. So how much of that played a role into, like, said, you moving on to, starting a business on your own?
Um, not very much. Like I knew that, I mean, coming from a family of entrepreneurs, I knew that that was somewhere in my future. And so in many ways, it was really just finding the right opportunity, right? And so when I looked at the landscape of what was going on, as an example, in storm contracting, um, I really thought, okay, the fundamentals are sound here. Here's how we can move forward effectively. The advent of technology then really opens a new door, layered on top of a conventional business. And so, for me, it was like this sort of nexus of fusing legacy, a legacy thing with new tech, really sort of gives you leverage. And so that's what we're doing.
Okay, nice, nice. Now I'm interested to learn hear a little bit more about, what the product actually does, and just kind of some of the use cases of
Yeah, so WeatherCheck, you can think of us like the Carfax for severe weather. So what we figured out was that in the United States, there are thousands or millions of property owners, and they buy homeowners insurance, but there really is no voice out there for them to understand, well, when should I use that homeowners insurance? And there are all these sort of non-obvious moments that you should be using your homeowners insurance, but you're not. right? Because you don't think about it, because maybe you're not at your house, what for whatever reason. And those often are considered acts of God, meaning windstorms, hailstorms, rainstorms, snowstorms, lightning, all of these different sort of things. And so what WeatherCheck does is it monitors your property around the clock, sends you a text message whenever one of those events occurs, and then helps you through the claims filing process, and getting you back whole really, really quickly. And today, when I say really, really quickly, that's 3 times faster than national average, right? So whereas most people's claims take them 45 days to get through, WeatherCheck users normally get through their claims process in about 7 to 10 days.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
and so really, really fast, but it's because we do it thousands of times, right? And and we do that by making our financing available to our users to make sure that we can procure their materials quickly and pay their contractor and all of this sort of good stuff, but all to the end of making sure that our users are some of the most resilient homeowners in the world. And so that's what we do every day for now 4.5 million households.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big impact that you guys are making.
Yeah, so certainly, some days it feels like a very big number, but listen, there's still millions of homeowners out there who, are still struggling
Mhm.
through the claims process with an insurance company, or struggling to figure out what should I do next. And this is certainly true for some of the areas that we live in. So, like, one of our first claims that we managed was actually in North Carolina, Surf City, on the coast, for a property owner that was living halfway around the world.
Wow.
And you sort of think about that and you're like, oh, wow, that is a real thing, that like people aren't always where their property is.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of these scenarios where people are being evacuated, I mean, frankly, you and I and everybody listening to this podcast knows the story of Hurricane Katrina
Hmm.
and all those people who moved to Houston, but then they never moved back. And
Gotcha.
so, in the sort of lens of climate change, what we've not only got to do is we've got to certainly figure out how to solve for CO2 emissions and all of these sort of other things and the ozone, but we've also got to deal with the damage that we've already done. And that means being responsive to what's going to happen next, right? And so, WeatherCheck is a climate adaptation play for, hey, the events that we know that are going to be coming over the next decade, there are going to be more of them, not less. They're going to be more severe, not less severe. And so, we're really here to sort of help the public through that.
Okay, nice, nice. See, I'm curious as to, with coming up with such a great idea and a way to solve a problem for, a lot of people. What was that journey like of, like I said, of getting the message out? Like, how did like you say, the customer response go? Was it something that they were easily able to grasp, or did it take time for you to kind of build up the understanding for what you guys were doing?
Well, I think anybody who has had a claim, who has encountered a challenge with a loss like that, certainly understands it. But the go-to-market strategy for us is that we go to your insurance agent, your broker, your mortgage company, your bank, and we say, "Hey, let us do this for you, for your people." Right? So we're typically adding, 20 to 50,000 users at a time, in collaboration with some existing relationship that they already have.
Okay.
Because frankly, I love to think that consumers are really thinking about severe weather all the time, but they're not, right? They're busy with life and kids and jobs and all of these different things. And so what we really try to do is engage through an already known stakeholder, right? So that insurance agent, that broker, your employer, one of these other sort of entities where you have a much stronger bond or connection, and then we come in and help support through that relationship. And so, and try not to get in the way, but make everybody sort of aware that you need the tool just like this one.
Awesome. Gotcha. So now, when people are, if they've heard about, WeatherCheck, they like it. Is it something that they should talk to their insurance company about getting, or is it a tool that they can navigate to themselves?
Well, it's a really good question. So they can navigate to it on their own. What we typically do is you come to our site, sign up your property, and then we ask you, who's your insurance agent? Who's your insurance company? Right?
Okay.
Who's your mortgage company? And then what we do is we then go to your insurance company and say, hey, one of your clients just signed up for WeatherCheck. And when you do that, then that sort of acts as in the industry what we call network effect around, oh, well, hey, 10,000 of ABC mortgage company or 10,000 of ABC insurance company's clients have now signed up for WeatherCheck. And that tells them, oh, maybe we should do something about this.
Gotcha.
Right. And then we do a little bit of legwork on reaching out to people around you who also need to sign up. So you can see it looks a lot like what Nextdoor did in its early days, right?
Okay.
Where you got that little postcard in the mail and, hey, your neighbor just signed up for Nextdoor. Very same sort of method here, where we're signing up, your neighbors as soon as you sign up and all that good stuff.
Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. Now, if people are interested in, following Nextdoor. I mean, not Nextdoor, following WeatherCheck and seeing what's going on with WeatherCheck. Where can they find you guys online or social media?
We're all over, right? So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and it's just at WeatherCheck Co. On every single one of those platforms. But you can also visit our website, www.weathercheck.co. And frankly, the way you can think about it is, listen, we put the check in weather. We're the guys that are going to make sure that when you actually have damage to your property, that you get the appropriate check out of that. Because frankly, you're paying for it in your insurance premiums consistently. But then we're also going to do another thing, and I think which can't be underscored either enough, is that we're also deterring you from filing claims that you shouldn't be filing, right? That we know are going to be denied because it just doesn't meet the criteria that your carrier is looking for. And so there is a loss control and claims avoidance mechanism within this, but I'm happy to say that for the nearly 400 claims that we filed this year, we've had 100% claims filing success. So every
Wow.
time we presented a claim to a carrier or their client presented the claim, it was paid every single time.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So, well, before we wrap up, one last question I always like to ask every guest, when you think about, your journey of, where you've been and where you are now, what's two pieces of advice you would share with other business owners?
I think I've said this quite a few times, I think, and I even tell our people this today. It's like, you got to put away fear, right? Never allow fear to be the motivating factor. Right? There are a lot of things that come in business that are certainly daunting. Fear of a competitor, fear of not getting approved for the loan. But all of those things sort of lead to decisions that are oftentimes the wrong decision. And so that's the thing that I'm still asking myself to this day is like, okay, am I being motivated by fear? And if I am, then I need to put away with it, and sort of get over it and find another motivating factor, because now my thesis is going to change about, a glass half full sort of perspective versus a glass half empty. And then you can move forward appropriately. I think the other thing would be, really around understanding your role, like know your role, know where you fit. And so, frankly, I'm a utility player. I, as an accountant, was expecting to always be number 3 or number 4 down the list, and in a team and playing on a team. But it's incredibly important that every single person really do their own work around figuring out what really is my role. Am I number one? Am I number two? Am I number three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10? Because frankly, what we need at this moment is more people who know where they fit in an organization and then can sort of see the opening and step directly into that role. And that's really important in early stage companies, that you have people who aren't having an identity crisis, but sort of know exactly where they are. And frankly, that's even to the CEO who's not a non-CEO, right? Like, hey, you might need to actually step into the CFO or COO role and go find a CEO. And so, like, those are the two really, really big things. And then, the rest is pretty easy when people are living without fear, when they have a good sense of identity, and introspection around themselves, then you're really sort of unstoppable.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really enjoyed the interview, really enjoyed the conversation and hearing more about your story, hearing about WeatherCheck, and thank you for sharing the advice and the tips. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, likewise, man. I really appreciate what you're doing, and keep it up, man. It's helpful. It really is.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense. If you'd like to see more of the Business Talk Library, be sure to watch us every week on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m.
Hey, it's your girl Tia Robertson. I'm the host of Entrepreneur Insider. Right here on RETV, every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for entrepreneurs and news that you need to know about. See you there.
Well, they do that, cause we do that, though. I see you talking, so we gon' take it, though. And yeah, talking cheap, so don't do that, though. My click 100 deep.
This is Tyron
and Nicole with your weekly RATV news break. Each Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, we'll come to you with the latest news, trends, and more with a positive spin.
We know there's a lot of positive news that doesn't get reported, but we want to give you the opportunity to share your story here on RATV. If you have a positive news story you want us to share, you can submit your story to news@re-tv.net.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Relationship Entertainment Television YouTube channel. Download the new RATV Live app on your mobile device and follow Relationship Entertainment Television on your favorite social media platform.
Don't forget, make sure you tune into the RATV News Break each Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be blessed and be great.
Growing up in the church, we saw a lot. Things that people refuse to talk about. The elephants in the room. Mental illness, sexual abuse, broken families, domestic violence, and so much more. The Big E, The Elephant in the Room, is a show that sheds light on these topics. We're here to speak about the unspeakable.
Welcome to What's Going On? My name is Demita Joe. Each Wednesday, you can find me here at 3 p.m. I'll be over here discussing different things that are going on and try to bring you a boost of positivity for your week, because we all need this. We're going to share some feel-good stories. We might find a hometown hero. We may take a look at some trending topic. And sometimes we might even find a lesson in a not-so-warm and fuzzy story if we can. I'm Demita Joe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode right here on What's Going On?